This is your weekend market recap for Saturday, March 26, 2022. Let's go.
This is Dan Max at EXP Realty, aka the Trading Agent, and this is my stock, Bitcoin, gold, and silver daily market recaps. Please subscribe if you like what you see. Thank you.
This is Dan Max at EXP Realty, and this is your weekend market recap for Saturday, March 26, 2022. Let's get into it. As always, start off in the Discord room. If you have any questions, concerns, thoughts about this video, trade ideas that you'd like to run by us, please stop by. Link is in the description below. And on that note, let's just say Kramer is now calling the bull market back in effect. Anyone listening to this who has been trading for any period of time knows that Kramer is a nice guy, intentions meaning well, but he's pretty much a counter indicator. So we're interested to see how next week goes because we got a lot to talk about. This is going to be a good video, so strap in and let's do this. Grab your coffee, take notes, and let's do some drawing. Bitcoin. What have we said for since, I don't know, February, not March. 45,000, the VAP zone, old volume at price zone here. We are right up against it at this point. Watch the action. I mean, I like to see the volume continue to rise. I'm not really a fan of yesterday's candle, but if you want to take some off, you want to add if it breaks out. I mean, there's many ways to play this, and let's run each scenario. So if you've been holding Bitcoin and you did not buy any of the dips, but you did get in at, say, like the original dip, you can add on a breakout. Now, people say, oh, is that chasing? It's like chasing is chasing the first move, chasing this first move up, and then what happens to pull back. Chasing would be this move potentially as well if it's wrong. And so this is how we prevent the mistake here of chasing. If it is breaking out, you buy it, you set your stop basically at your entry or slightly below, so that if it is a fake out, fake breakout, whatever you want to call it, your loss is minimal. So that's how you manifest that kind of trade to be a little more successful, because keep in mind, this is a nice time correction. You know, this is almost 3 months of just chopping. You know, we bottomed, I would say, I guess, January 22nd. It is now March 25th, 26th. You know, let's keep everything in perspective. Let's get into the charts, les charts. TLT. You know, Scott was making a joke. He's like, if TLT closes below 130 on the monthly candle, he'll eat a sock. And I said the same thing. I don't believe it will. However, let's get into like what's going on here. Because this, for example, like what we're talking about with TLT could be any other stock leading index, commodity, whatever you want to call it, particularly depending on how it's acted during a particular quarter. So keep in mind, I mean, if you look at the TLT monthly, pretty fugly. That's the January candle. Open high, close low. February open, chop, opening high, closing low. There is a thing called window dressing. If you're not familiar with that means is that hedge funds, institutions, money managers, whoever is managing money, they do quarterly statements, right? They do quarterly statements that they have to show their clients, customers, whatever. You don't want to look like you own the laggards, and you want to look like you own the leader. So what happens sometimes the last few weeks of the quarter, sometimes it's usually, and it accelerates as you get closer to the end, depending on the price action, is people don't want to own the TLT. They don't want to own bonds because they look like idiots to their customers potentially, and their customers question. And as someone who's managed money before, I know the feeling like, why do you own this? Why do you own that? And it's one of these things where it's just easier to sell out and rebuy later if needed. And because you just don't want to look like you own it. But here's something, and again, here's like the hardest part of this trade that I think people, you know, who look at it on the hourly, the 10-minute intraday, they kind of get confused about what's potentially happening here. And now, again, when I say that I'm bullish TLT and I'm buying it here in this area, again, it made a little lower low today. It didn't gap down. Again, we talked about selling puts. It just kind of opened flat and then was choppy. You could have sold puts, but was probably actually the best day. It was a Friday, but did not, because I'm anticipating maybe we get another smash gap. I don't know, but what we're watching here is, keep in mind, the Feds have said what they're going to raise 7 times. The TLT, since that talk in November area, the bond market's moved almost, 2.5. interest rates almost a point and a half, point and a quarter, depending on what a bond it is or what product. That's almost 5 rate hikes. Let's keep that in mind. So the market's a discounting mechanism of the future, and we've gone up 5 rate hikes, right? Like that's what the market is projecting here with basically the move on the 10-year or whatever bond you want to talk about, 4 to 5, 6, depending on which one. Is that all going to happen? I mean, do a poll right now. How many people actually believe the Feds are going to raise 5 or 6 times this year? Put me in the camp that believes they will not, because the market can't handle higher rates. The fiscal deficit cannot sustain higher rates. Nothing about this economy can sustain higher rates. And if they try to continue to keep the rates higher, what's going to happen? I think it's easy to see that there's going to be a recession. And I say this meaning, like, again, take the political party out of the way. Like, if it was Republicans, the same thing. If it's Democrats, doesn't matter. No party in control with a president wants to see a recession during a midterm election, because guess what? Their party is going to get creamed. That would mean the sitting president would absolutely get stomped in the House, and the Senate might flip to a supermajority or a majority, which that would make him a lame duck president. So Al got his job back because Biden gave him the job back. I'm pretty sure there's a unwritten agreement somewhere in all of this, by a handshake, that please do not allow a recession before the midterms, because he literally will become a lame duck president if that's the case. Again, we're kind of riding this channel. I mean, there's a million ways to look at it, how to pick the bottom here. Ultimately, I thought this would hold, but I tell people sometimes bull and bear traps happen on the monthly. Like, that's a monthly bull trap. Even though we made another retest at it, but it was flop. Could this be the big wide open bottom candle? Could it ultimately look, let's take a zoom back in the time machine. Trying to remember which one I was thinking of. Could it end up being something like this, one of these? You don't know. Now, again, I'm not anticipating rates to go back to where they were. I'm just playing the TLT for 10, 15 points. Would it be illogical to think at this point in the oversold position that the TLT is in? Everyone hates bonds. Keep in mind, everybody hates bonds. Like, that gets my ears ringing. Could this pop from 128, 138, 140 area back to this old support resistance? Yeah, you bet your ass. So that's why. And again, it also gives me some hedges on some defensive positioning. So sorry to make that a long talk, but that's what's going on in the bond market. Keep in mind, like we talked about this on the Discord room, like if you actually look at the bond auctions, the government's selling the bonds very easily. Like, they're not struggling to get the numbers they want in the auction. So we'll see what happens. Keep in mind, TLT is just trying to mirror that. It's not a perfect mirror. It's a 20-year plus bond fund. It's not all one treasury, one particular auction. Keep that in mind. Dollar, talk about all the time. As long as it's not volatile, no one cares. VIX. This is interesting because we anticipated, here I'll draw the circles because it's on my other charts. If you saw some of the Twitter posts, we thought we'd probably hold this level. Once we did, Scott, Eric, some of the fellas and ladies in the Discord room were saying, hey, 200-day. And it's like, yeah, here it comes. We talked about it today. We talked about, the Apple trade that was nice, made 100% on the options. Let's explain that here in a little bit. Remember what I said earlier this week? I mean, I don't know if I even said it last week. Like, this blue zone, the 100-day, mid-450s, is always in play. Keep in mind, this is what's kind of interesting about this. You know how we talk about volume meaning conviction? Cat, what are you doing? Yeah, the volume is not there. Like, it's dying on the vine. So keep that in mind. It's not rocket science that this is a trend that's losing power, but here's a previous example. I mean, look at this whole market run in November. That whole markup was just no volume, hence no one believed it. So then when it pulled back, it was pretty hard, and then it went higher. So again, I mean, it's easy to look at the monthly on the SPY and go, look at where we came from, where we're going. This is potentially the end of the bull market. However, let's not be too quick to call the end of the bull market. What have I said? Probably a billion times. Monthly, weekly charts, trends, when they flip, they're typically retests. They're not V's. They're going to be a little more choppy. Let's look at, if you can see 2008, same thing. Here you go. Many months many months of chop. I mean, it had up and then a retest. Here you go in 1999. You had a blow off and then a retest of a lower high. Let's not keep that out of the realm of possibility here. Could the SPY continue to go higher? Could it get even back up to the 475? That has to be in the back of your mind. So again, this is going to be a long video because you need to see the market from the bigger perspective. I anticipate we'll probably go lower and then chop actually more in the summer, but this would not be the first time I'm wrong. This would absolutely not be, because what if it actually, this is now the retest. What if they retested during earnings in April? Maybe it makes a new highs. You have to be careful. Like, that's why my bearish bets are very, very small. I've taken off some bullish bets just because of the short term aspect of things, but ultimately I'm trying to get mentally neutral so that I can read the evidence. And again, at this point, the risk reward does look like it's obvious that the short would be the play, because if you do understand seasonality, you've studied the past, you know that what typically before earnings there are pullbacks, especially if the market is going higher. We'll keep that in mind. Earnings start pretty soon. The first month of every quarter is typically earnings season, so keep all those things in the back of your mind. Take notes. If you're not taking notes, good luck trying to remember stuff. Luckily, my brain has this stuff stuffed in there so heavily, like it's hard not to remember, because I have to think. I've thought about it a bazillion times, and I've made errors, which my errors were the reasons that I did not keep track of this stuff in my head. So hopefully you hear it and you hear the repeating, and you're starting to realize, like, wow, this guy has literally probably seen every circumstance, made a mistake, or learned something from every potential move that, again, I review my winners and losers. So let's get into it even more. Qs, talked about this blue zone, the 0.382. It's looking pretty likely. Now, again, this is why I think the market's a little more bearish than I think, or ultimately say like the SPY. This thing has gone apeshit. When the Qs peaked in 2007, keep in mind, they did not make a retest of the high. Same thing with 2001. They came nowhere close. So if you were looking at the monthly now on the Qs, where do you think they probably peak? I would imagine somewhere maybe 370 possibly would be the max upside. I think the trend is over. Now, a lot of people probably will be like, well, tech is always the leader. It's like, wrong. Tech was a laggard from 2000s into 2009. It was absolutely crap. Look at this chart. Here's the QQQ. And then I'll pull up the SPY from 2001 to 2003. And you tell me which one was the laggard. At least the SPY got up back to the highs in 2008. You know where the Qs got back to in 2008? Nowhere close. They got up to 53. The high was still 118. So don't believe everything you're told. Like, tech doesn't always lead. Sectors change. Like, leadership changes. And if you're not paying attention to what I've been saying, then you're missing out on the leadership change for the long run. IWM. This is another reason why I'm bearish. IWM peaked early in November. Keep in mind, the market, like NASDAQ was mid-November. SPY was December. Look when the IWM peaked, November. Well, what's going on now? We bottomed first in March. This thing is stuck. I mean, I've been watching this thing because, again, I had a little trade going on. I've taken it off, but I'm watching, like, we broke the downtrend, but this thing has gone nowhere. Not bullish. That's how I look at it. Gold, end of the quarter, hopefully markup. We said watch the 20-day. Keep in mind, I wish I could predict every day perfectly, but the monthly downtrend is broken with a big cup and handle. Let it run. Let that dog run. Same thing with the silver. We talked about this 20 zone in blue. It's been major resistance. We held it. We're breaking the downtrend, slightly above volume, whatever. It doesn't have to be perfect volume in the sense on the monthly, because the monthly, it's a little hard to track the volume. But look at, again, we talked about this coming off the lows on the daily. You can see the volume expanding. At this point, hold over the 20-day. I like it. It's making higher highs, higher lows. If you were over trading it and trying to predict it every day, I wish you luck. I think at some point, as Jesse Livermore would say, sit on your hands, let your winners run. That's an example. AEM, up near the highs, looks fine. AG, keep in mind, I have not sold any metals or miners stuff. This stuff to me just looks like it's high and tight. I'm not too worried about it. Plus, bigger trends. AG looks fine. PAAS, holding up near the highs, the same thing. Where would you buy? Any of the back testing of 20 days are very likely. So, for example, PAAS, you'll see under 27. AG, I think it's, let's see if I memorize it. Nope, 13. AEM, not even close. Whatever. Ah, crap, I forgot to start on GDX. Here's another reason, again, why the miners. I mean, look at these, look good. Check out the daily, check out the monthly. You broke the downtrend. Like, don't overthink this. GDXJ, same kind of thing. It's actually just breaking now, but keep in mind where this thing is at compared to where it was. Gold is at a much higher price. Now, again, these ETF structures have changed. Should it be valued at 180? No, not based on the structural changes of the ETF. However, I like the bull run is starting. At worst, you should probably have 3 or 4 months of straight upper at some point. I hope this helps. Again, we'll jump into deeper detail as needed, but at this point, there is not a lot to do. All right, so here's some plays that we took some profits on. X. The upper trend bound 20, we broke the monthly trend line. We're coming into the 200 month. The 200 month has acted as resistance multiple times. We said take some profits, sell some covered calls. If you've been a part of this room, you were buying this thing 18, 19, 20 range. That is almost a double. Do not get greedy. Do not get stupid. Know your plan. Have something going on. Let's do VALE next. Took some profit on this. Said it's kind of struggling with this gap. Keep in mind, we're identifying the lows down here in the 11s. I didn't get in until I got over the 20-day and back tested, but still 12 to 20 with additional buys on dips. I'm happy. I mean, I've made my quarter easily. And at this point, I do think long-term it will be going up to the channel high at 25. If the market does get weak, maybe it pulls back to 18, 19. I don't know. Again, for everybody else, everyone has their own risk management. I prefer to take some of these gains because I see some better opportunities in the near term, but I absolutely could be wrong. That's the biggest risk here. CCJ, we talked about hitting the upper trend bound here. You can see it pulling back, holding this level looks good. We bought down here, looks good. I mean, we started buying down here and then advised to on the dip. Trend is your friend. However, the upper trend bound, I'm going to respect it, take my profits, come back. It has gone from 18 through 30. Again, keep in mind these maths. The math on this is solid. CF, upper trend bound, but man, we really wanted to buy a retest on the 20-day. We did not get it. But again, sometimes you have to have solace in the fact that what you are identifying is still working. You will not hit every trade or actually be able to get into them, but that looks good. I mean, if we bought it at 86, you're up at 109, and you watch these videos and you just didn't wait for the retest, congratulations. I know people who are buying some of these fertilizer names. Just be aware they are pumping, and when things get pumping, this is a pretty straight line move. I tried to draw the trend line last time, didn't really work out. Just be aware they're strong. They also will go up and down at times. Have your references. I tell people don't realize, like, I used to trade these back in the day. That was an awesome trend. It looks like we're starting it again. Now, how will that play out? There will be times where there's chop and sideways. And the chop here gets near the highs. I mean, what is the upside on Mosaic? I mean, if you run the math in my head, naturally looking at the move, I mean, at worst, it should see 160s, which in my mind, then try to piece something together and you might see, who knows? I mean, there's a million ways to draw this. Could it be a runner up to probably 200s, 250? I don't know. Look at the PE ratios on these things. They're pretty cheap. Keep in mind, these companies will do splits because they've done splits in the 4. So it's in their history. AMD, again, I've said lay off this. I am short naked calls. We sold the 125s on what day was that? Thursday. Anticipating it could get up here, but the calls didn't. With the doji and indecision, remember I talk about be careful buying options. I mean, these options are literally down 20%, even though we sold it at 120.10. Stock's down 50 cents. Selling options is the easiest trades out there. I've warned people that. Now, again, I'm selling the 125s. I want out of the money. I want to collect a decent amount of premium, but also want to give respect that I can't always pick the top. That's why same thing with selling puts on TLT. It's going to be out of the money. I'm not going to sell them right at the money because I don't know for sure. Apple, we really like the short on that day. Pumped a little higher. If you were around on the AM, we did a sweet little trade. We bought the 175 expires on Friday puts. And when this thing dropped those puts doubled. They actually went a little more, but I just was like, I'll just take a double and in and out. And now people are like, oh, you want to, you should have bought more time. And it's like, no, the point of buying on a Friday of expiration is so that I get pretty much straight up 1-to-1 delta, and you got it, you get out. I mean, it wasn't meant to be held overnight, so that was a great trade. It helped out bring down my cost basis. I still have some stock short. I'm anticipating 176 at this point. It seems pretty safe. This is not normal. This is not normal. I repeat, this is not a normal move. This feels like a bear squeeze and a quarter chase. Just keep that in mind. MicroStrategy, see what happens. It's been churning higher and higher. Bitcoin goes higher, it should go higher. Roblox, man, that Friday action pretty shitty. Holding the 20-day, keep it really simple. I'm gonna blast through these names because they don't really matter to me as much as say like Tesla. Again, it's at the 0.618. I think we showed that on the weekly, maybe the monthly, maybe not. Let me just draw it for you because people are like, what are you talking about, Dan? What is that? What 0.618 are you talking about? It's like, well, Justin Pulitzer, who I respect as a trader, pointed this out, and I was like, wow, hit the 0.618 to a T and fail. There you go. See what happens if it needs to get over it to go, and then you have 2 doji days. And keep in mind, this is underperformance. Since Wednesday, like literally the AM, Tesla's not making higher highs, while the Qs and the SPY are. It's saying it's either reloading or about to get beaten. PENN Gaming, we liked it for an NCAA tournament play. Not really doing much. Don't know. UTHR, here comes the 20-day. Keep this in, like, again, this might look bearish, but watch the levels. It might be a buy at 175. EXPI, again, anytime it gets down to this level, here's the red alert. Time to buy. Time to buy. End of quarter potential sell. Because keep in mind, the quarter started at 34. People are selling laggards. That's what's happening. Let's end it on XOP and ExxonMobil. What have I said about XOP? Buy the 113. Probably could buy it the 20-day. Ultimately, what did we say? Because I'm going to pull up the monthly because that's where we always pull our references. And ta-da! We're getting close to your ranges. If you are a XOP bull, owner of this stock, you need to realize this came from 30 to 140. Please take a little profit. See what happens. Let it play out. You can buy the dips. Just don't round trip this if all of a sudden oil starts getting slapped around, because the powers that be don't want to see that. ExxonMobil, again, this is what's hard about XOP. XOP is making new high, and the leader of the leader of the bull market is ExxonMobil. It's not. What have I talked about? It's lagging potentially and pulling back to this level. I hope this kind of stuff helps. Again, I appreciate everybody. Come by the Discord room. We're family. Try to help each other out. Nobody is beyond making mistakes. Neither am I. It's all about learning and trying to share and have good perspective. I'll talk to you guys and gals.
Thanks for watching. For more trading knowledge and insight, click on the videos on the right, and also join the Discord room. Link is in the description below. If you have any questions, please stop on by the Discord room and let's chat. Thank you.